Hi, my name is Denny. I'm the designer and architect of the Maximo BI tools within the Maximo portfolio. And today I want to highlight and demonstrate some of the new BI features in the Maximo 7.6 release. And specifically today I'm going to highlight the new KPI Viewer application. The KPI Viewer application is intended for your end users. It gives them additional visibility and insight into the KPIs and how important they are to your business. So I come to Maximo and I'm going to sign in as Sam Nolan. And I got to make sure I get that password in right. And Sam is an end user who's a member of multiple security groups. And one of the groups that we're going to focus on that he's a member of is the Operations Manager group. And as I sign into 7.6, you can notice a few things. Here's the new user interface that we have, but also notice that Sam is a member of a few different security groups, and he could navigate between those to view the KPIs that he's responsible for or that he is involved with. The other thing that Sam can do is he can interact with the KPIs directly, and that's what we want to focus on today. KPIs describe the performance of the business. What is the value that Maximo is delivering so the business can perform better to help reduce costs? So a number of different ways and KPIs might be utilized by a company, maybe managing their work orders, managing the number of failures you might see in the asset area, maybe looking at inventory, how current is the inventory, how inactive or active is the inventory. All those different metrics that help us understand what the performance of a business is. So getting back to Sam, he signs into his Start Center. He's an ops manager, so he's more involved in the work order management end. And he can see a list of his favorite KPIs here. And as I mentioned, he can navigate to the other tabs. But Sam, he signs in, he gets very worried, everything is red. Why is everything red? He needs more details. So what Sam can do is access the new KPI Viewer application. It could be set up as a favorite app on his Start Center, or Sam can access it through the new Analytics module. Simply click Analytics, KPI Viewer. As soon as Sam does that, he's brought over to the KPI Viewer and he sees the list of all the KPIs that he has access to. And these KPIs are set up in the previous demonstrations on KPI Manager and KPI Template, and those describe not only how to set up those KPIs, but also how to schedule and set security on them. Well, again, Sam comes into KPI Viewer, he sees these KPIs, and his eye is immediately drawn to those that are displayed in red. Red means the KPI is not performing. It is, well above the threshold. A green color would mean that the KPI is good. Everything is great. Yellow, potential warning areas. But Sam's going to delve into this one, work order backlog. He notices that the current value of all the work orders he has in backlog is 483, just under 500. His target value is only 15. So either his target value is way off, or something's going on with the backlog. Maybe that needs to be cleaned out a little bit. Maybe there's some work in there that shouldn't be in there at this time. So he's got to understand it a little bit more, and he's going to click on the KPI, to come to the KPI tab within the KPI Viewer. Now, one of the things that happens with a KPI is users don't always access these on a regular basis. Some KPIs may be looked at once a month, once a quarter, maybe a couple times a year. And that's because performance for each individual KPI isn't always at the forefront of the user's mind. Some KPI metrics, like maybe an inventory currency or an inventory cycle count, they're not going to change that much week to week, month to month, so the user doesn't again necessarily access them every single day. And because they may not be accessing them on a regular basis, they may forget how they were calculated or why they're important to the business. So within the KPI Viewer app, what we do is we immediately show the user what this KPI is and why it's important to the business. In this case, if Sam was unfamiliar with the work order backlog, it would tell him exactly what it is. This is available in the long description of the application. And it tells him, that there any work order that's in backlog that doesn't have a status of closed, complete, or canceled. Very clear and concise. Well, why is this KPI important to the business that Sam is in? Well, it's important because it gives you insight on workload. If I've got this many new work orders heading my way, 483, I either, got to further understand the labor requirements. Maybe I need to bring in some temp labor. Maybe I need to line up some overtime. I got to make sure I have the material for all this work. I really have to understand if that's a really accurate number or if, again, I'm going to have some labor and material issues. And what's the goal? Everything we measure, we want to have that goal so we can see when we will achieve it, and we're able to make that accomplishment. So again, this tells you that information. So very, very powerful functionality here that's not available on the Start Center, giving the user insight onto the KPI, what its current values are, and what those target values are also. Few other things that are available in the KPI Viewer application. If this had some historical information, I would see it in the historical trend area. This is where we use the KPI scheduler, so we can schedule KPIs to run at whatever configurable value they are, because as Sam looks at this, he sees what his value is today, but most importantly to Sam is what was it yesterday, what was it last week, last month, last year. So with the historical trend tab, he now has access to that information. And then lastly is the log tab. This is where we can use comm logs or communication logs to interact with each other. If Sam is working with a team of individuals to try to understand this backlog, see how accurate it is, he can create a communication, and maybe he's going to send it out to me and a few other folks on the team, and he's going to say, Bedford, whoa, backlog, what is our plan? What is our plan? Excuse me. We need a plan. We need a plan immediately to get this backlog down. Otherwise, our outside labor costs and overtime cost over the next few months may be much, much greater than budgeted. So I think you can understand what I'm trying to do here. So again, let's communicate. Let's send out this information. Maybe somebody outside the organization, maybe someone is not aware of this information. And so Sam's going to put out this. And then not only does that send out to other individuals, but now it's a historical record. So Sam can say, all right, I sent out this email on this KPI. We have bad performance. What are we going to do about it? I sent it out here in mid-November. We had an action in early December. We met again. And, again, to show that continuous improvement, collaboration, everybody working together to not only increase the visibility of those KPIs, but get them all in the green status. Let's get out of red. Let's make significant contributions and value to our company. So that is the KPI Viewer application. Again, this is available in Maximo 7.6. The intention is to give the user additional insight onto the KPIs and the value, increase their collaboration, increase their understanding of that KPI, so they can all work together to improve performance. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much. Have a great day.